been a while, man. How you been?
Yeah, not too bad. It has been a while, not too bad. Nothing much has happened other than this in the Star Wars universe, really, has it? Since, I suppose, since those heady days of leading up to that utter piece of shit that was the Rise of Skywalker.
No. That was not urine. People were hearing me pour. That was my first whiskey, and a little bit of Coke to go on top of that. So
whiskey and Coke. That's it's quite popular in America, isn't it? You know, like Jack and Coke, blah blah blah. But I don't think there's many people in Scotland have Coke with whiskey. I don't think.
See, now I'll be honest, and I hate to stereotype because I know Scotch goes well beyond just Scotland, and Scotland's got more than just Scotch to offer. But I have not found a Scotch that I can enjoy. Like, all I can do are like American whiskeys and bourbons, and that's
bourbons.
it. Yeah. You know.
Well, like, it's all individual taste. I don't like whiskey. I don't like whiskey, and I've tried a couple of, expensive ones. My dad drinks whiskey, and I always buy him, a bottle of whiskey. But he drinks blended whiskey, and he mixes it with diet lemonade. That's how he drinks his whiskey normally. But every now and again he'll have like a malt whiskey as well, which you don't put lemonade in a malt whiskey.
No, I guess you would not. No, there are some like lemonade.
Yeah, like malt. Everyone I know likes whiskey. I think probably
either lemon or lemonade. Not based, but used in some Jack Daniel's cocktails that I've read, like at like when you're sitting at the restaurant waiting on the waitress and you're looking at the drinks menu. Yeah, I've seen some lemonade stuff used with Jack Daniel's. But anyways, if you guys are wondering why the fuck I decided to start out everything with some drinking references, you guys might recognize this used to be called the Last Call podcast, now called the Cantina, to kind of reconnect back to the shit, help me out here, column I used to write called the Cantina.
The column that you used to do was called the Cantina. And then that kind of spawned the podcast that we did called the Last Call podcast, which was basically us going through every Star Wars film ever made in chronological order until we got to the Rise of Skywalker, which we filmed it was pretty late at night for me. I can't remember what time it was for you. After we'd all seen it, and we had a bunch of LRM contributors
I think we started...
Kind of feels like a waste of time after all that, to be honest. But no one was particularly. Oh, I loved it. We were all like, okay.
That was definitely an interesting one. But all of it revolves around the idea of being in that cantina scene in Star Wars, discussing information. And there we go. And discussing information and trading info and spilling the beans and all of that. And speaking of Star Wars, is doing all, talking Star Wars is doing all those things. So here we are. Welcome to the first episode of the rebranded Last Call podcast. Now, the Cantina, with your hosts, as we will be switching off and on, Kyle Malone. I also host LR Mornings for the website, and that's you, buddy.
I'm Cam Clark.
Introduce
I'm
yourself.
Senior Editor of LRMonline.com.
There we go. So by the title and the picture that you guys clicked on, I'm sure you're aware that we're talking Mandalorian season 1 recap. Yes.
Yeah. Because obviously season 2 isn't out yet. We've got a couple of weeks left.
I'm good at finding some things early, but not this and not this early. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So the plan is, we're going to talk about season 1 this week. Next week we're going to talk about what we kind of think our expectations going into season 2, the week before it actually debuts, and then we are going to do it after we have watched each episode for basically the next 8 weeks after that, until we get to the climax of The Mandalorian season 2, which will be obviously episode 8, as we already know all the episodes and who's directing them and who wrote them and everything like that. So that's the plan.
So,
not planning for these to be quick. If you listen to any of our last call podcasts that last for 4 hours with 3 years arguing with each other, this shouldn't be as long as that. Don't say, right, okay, I'm going to take a day off work to listen to this. It won't be like that.
No,
I'm sure.
No, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker conference. If you go to
Rise of Skywalker was the biggest one, wasn't
it? That was just under four
but
hours.
There was like 6 of us on that or
crazy.
Something. So by the time you
let me bring up the Mandalorian wiki for the episode titles and stuff real quick.
Sorry, the names. Yeah, I must admit I don't know the names of the episodes.
Overall, just real quick, I just rewatched this week. I just rewatched the whole thing, including watching episode 8, the last episode earlier today. And
I was about a month ago the last time I watched it. I had a rewatch. Although, as I said to you, I did skip out episode 5.
Okay, we'll talk about.
I didn't watch episode 5.
We'll talk about
we'll
that.
Get to that.
I actually found myself more. So this was my third watch through. I watched it when it originally hit. I watched it once with my father on a visit. We watched it all the way through because really, when you think about it, it's pretty short. You know, it's easily watchable in an entire day. And my dad and
I mean, it's about half an hour an episode.
Averaging out to about 34 minutes an episode. So But this was the third time the wife and I took like 3 days to watch it, and I actually enjoyed it more this time than I did the second time, and that's not a knock against my dad or anything, but I just there were some things that I noticed and some stuff that kind of like piqued my interest, and so I actually enjoyed it quite a bit this time around. What about you?
Well, I mean, I think I like the show. I enjoyed it overall, but I remember when it was coming out live, I remember when it got to about the middle, I started to have serious misgivings about the direction that the show was going, and I remember talking to yourself, Jammer, etc. on Slack and saying, I'm not liking the way this is going, but then it kind of came back strong in the end, and for me it's kind of like, it's almost like The Mandalorian was one story across 8 episodes. Well, no, that's a lie. One story across, I would say, 5 episodes, and there was 3 in the middle that were kind of supposed to be standalone episodes. And I enjoyed only one of them, which was the prison barge one.
Episode 6.
I just thought that was a good standalone show, and I've been watching a lot of. I'd watched all these years ago, but I've noticed on we have Sky TV in Britain, and I noticed there was like all the Stargates were on there, and I thought, fuck it, I'm going to watch all the Stargates again. And it's a very similar kind of thing, in which case there'd be an overarching story going across a season, or sometimes multiple seasons. But it had that ability, like old TV did, where each story, though, each episode was its own thing. but that was like an hour long, so you're looking pure time about 45 minutes, maybe 46 minutes, something like that, an episode.
Unless you British are cutting out some other
where the Mandalorian suffered
a thing that offends you, like the word ninja in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, there was nothing cut from Stargate. But yeah, you know, and it's just almost enough time in that 45 minutes to kind of tell an individual story in an episode with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I felt the kind of half an hour of The Mandalorian, for those 3 episodes, it really struggled. Episode 6 was the one I kind of enjoyed more, which was the
prison
sort of ship one with the Republic and the mercenaries and everything like that. And it kind of worked because it's such a simple premise that they were able to do beginning, middle, and end within that hour, sort of half hour time scale. I just didn't get that feeling though from the other 2. So on my rewatch, I watched episode 4 simply for the fact that it was an introduction to would you call it Cara Dune, Gina Carano. And that was the kind of only reason, because I really didn't like that episode. But the more I thought about it, I couldn't find any reason not to skip completely episode 5. I thought, well, if I skip this completely, what will I miss of the story? And so in my second rewatch, I just skipped it completely, and it made almost no difference at all to what goes on in the rest of the series. It really is just a complete outlier, and it just felt like filling space to me. I just didn't enjoy that episode.
Way to go, Dave Filoni.
And I didn't enjoy the 4th one either. And with the 4th one, I kind of felt they were trying to do a Magnificent 7 type thing, you know. And if that had been, I compare this back to Stargate loads. You know, it's a very typical episode where they jump in. They'd have to save people from some bad guys. You'd meet some of the locals, but you would never see them again. With Mando, it felt like they had no time to even meet any of the locals or find out anything about them. All they had time to do was bring in Cara Dune and the one woman, I can't even remember her name, who was the only character that Mando ever really speaks to, or Cara speaks to from that village. You know, everybody else was just extras, really, background characters. And that kind of, because they just didn't have time to do anything else, and because of that, it emotionally just didn't do anything for me at all, that episode. I just, other than introducing Cara Dune, it just proved to be pointless. In terms of the overall plot, the only thing it did was introduce the fact that he wouldn't be safe anywhere, that, you know, people would come hunting for the child no matter where he went. And that was really the only kind of aspect of it that was important to pick up out of that. But I've still to find anything that was important to take out of
before we
where they're going after the target.
Before we tear down the middle episodes, let's start with the first episodes. But just in general, did you enjoy your second watch through, or no? No, was it less enjoyable than the first time?
Yes, because I skipped those bits out. So it was good because I skipped those bits out. And I knew it was, by that point, it was going to come back to a strong ending, so I could just sit and enjoy it, whereas I was kind of starting to get concerned at that point in my first watch through. So when it was like 4, then we get 5, I'm like, wait a minute here. 6 was a bit better, but I'm like, you know, I'm still kind of not sure. And then 7 and 8 kind of redeemed it for me.
There you go. All right. Well, if we reround the clock, about 330 days ago instead of 365 days ago, somewhere around there, I guess. November 12th, the first episode was released. Everybody was super excited because Disney Plus was hitting. This was like the day one thing to watch. Of course, there were some hiccups here and there, but it hit, and excuse me. It introduced us to Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian character. Later on, who we find out is named Din. Introduced Grief Karga as this guy that's the head of a bounty hunter guild, and at the end, it introduces IG-11 and the child, and it pretty much just sets up Mando's like trip. It's all character introductions, and then Mando's trip that he's going to be on for the time. Oh, and Kuil. It introduced Kuil too. So I liked episode 1 well enough. Watching it again. Did you have any issues with it?
No, it was really good. It was a good introduction. I like, it was very much that, leans into its Western themes, if you like. It just worked for me. It was interesting. It was shot well. The music was good. And I was interested to find out more about this character and the world that was being explored. It was the kind of dark underworld of the Star Wars universe, which is exactly what we wanted and expected to see from The Mandalorian. So, no, I enjoyed it. But it almost kind of felt, again, the only criticism, the first one I watched, I thought, this needs to be an hour long for me. I don't know if I like the half-hour thing, because I almost felt like there wasn't enough there to wait for next week. And I'm still, the jury's out. We'll see what happens in season 2, because I know Favreau said that they won't all have exactly the same sort of length this time, but it's still a concern. I mean,
said, is it on the higher
I almost
end,
think like an hour long would just be, a bit better. Something run about 45 minutes would just work a lot better for me. But yeah, I was on board.
I was down. Yep.
And I suppose if we get into episode 2, it kind of just more of the same, isn't it?
Kind of, sort of.
It just follows on from the story in the first
one. He's returning to the ship with the child. I should say the first 4 episodes all written by Jon Favreau, but the first 4 episodes all have different directors. Dave Filoni did episode 1. Rick Famuyiwa did episode 2. And really, it just this episode kind of served to set up Quill as a very helpful, capable character, even further than in the first episode, because he's able to help negotiate with the Jawas, and they did a really good job developing his character, I think, in this episode, with his willingness to help and then unwillingness to like join a crew. I like that aspect.
Yeah, because he had earned his freedom, and he had he was a very morally grounded person. He had his morals and his code, and he lived by that, and he really didn't give a damn if anybody else didn't.
No. Because if he didn't like
because in his head, he had won his freedom. He could do what he wanted. Do you know what I mean? Anymore, he didn't have to do what anybody else told him anymore. But just on episode 2, I think probably my favourite scene, certainly up until the kind of finale, is the fight on the Jabba Sandcrawler, because I thought that was just so well done. It was just a way to kind of take something we know in the Star Wars universe and just do things a little bit differently, and it worked really well for me. So yeah, I did really enjoy
throughout this. It gave me a lot of Rogue One feelings, to where I was like, this feels like an EU adventure to me. Excuse me, me being such a big EU fan.
I think, unlike the sequels, what Favreau said is, like, you know, instead of trying to copy what Star Wars was, what you need to do is, what did Star Wars copy? You know, go back to the source of that. What was the ideas behind that, and start from there. That was kind of his philosophy, and I think that shows why The Mandalorian is so much more popular among Star Wars fans than the sequels were, because I don't think J.J. Abrams does that at all in The Force Awakens.
That type of love and reverence for the source material, but a desire to move a story forward because you're not afraid about what happens in the next movie. It really felt like
I suppose they had more freedom as well, because they didn't have to particularly connect it to the main saga in any way. It was its own story, and I suppose the sequels couldn't do that. But then you go back to the argument, which I hear a lot. In fact, I wrote a piece this week and quite a lot of comments were saying what they should have done is just start a new story instead of trying to tie it into the end, and they wouldn't have been forced down that direction of having to try and conclude the entire Star Wars saga in the third one. They could have just took their time. It didn't even need to be 3 episodes. They could have just said, well, we'll see where we get to, and it could have just been episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and they could have just really built that up and decided where they were going to end it. You know, they didn't have to say, but they did it to try and market it better, to say this is the final, this is the end, you know, you know, the saga was always supposed to have this 3-chapter ending, and here it is, and you know, it did limit them a lot. But anyway, we're here to talk about Mando, but it's definitely, that's one of the things I think people
I agree. Episode 2 pretty damn good. Episode 3, the sin, this is where Mando returns to Navarro, where the client and the guild are located. Grief Karga. He does his job. He delivers the package, which was the child, the Yoda, like baby Yoda that everyone calls, delivers them to the Imperial, and the guy that worked on Camino, which everyone that's a fan of Star Wars should know. Camino is where the clone army came from in Star Wars canon. Seen in some really horrible movie. I can't even remember the title of it, but I think it also appeared in the Clone Wars cartoon, but whatever. The Mandalorian takes his payment, which is in Beskar, which is a metal from Mandalore, and it's really, really like good lightweight steel. It's awesome.
It's basically the mithril of the Star Wars universe for any Tolkien fans out there. You go. You know, magic metal, or would you call it? What's the dragon steel they call it in Game of Thrones? It's precious metal that's better than what anybody else has got.
This is your Uru metal from Marvel.
Yes. Or vibranium, or
whatever you want.
You know, you get the idea. Marvel's got a few.
Damn it.
Anyways,
he goes in and has new armor, chest plates, back plates. They call it a full cuirass, which is, you know, your torso armor. But he pretty much comes out like all totally decked out. And then donates some of them money, because I don't know why. It was weird.
Well, I think at that point they ask him if he wants a sigil, and I don't think he feels like he's earned a sigil yet or something like that. So he decides he's going to donate it to the foundlings,
so somebody else can buy
which is kind of where he came from anyway. So yeah, it's just a small.
I do want to say one thing about episode 2 that I just remembered. What did you think about the egg moment? The egg, when the Jawas are all excited about this egg and crack it open and eat it. a good laugh. Good laugh for you.
Good, you know what I mean? It's a good laugh. That kind of worked for me. You know, the whole Jabba thing I enjoyed. It was silly, but you know they are a strange culture. You know, a very alien culture. The Jawas. You know, we don't really have any kind of frame of reference for what they're like or why they do what they do, you know, so it was just like another little fun moment. And they're all excited just to get to eat this egg, you know. And you imagine like if they didn't have Din Djarin getting it for them, you know, how many countless Jawas would have died to get that egg for them all.
Yeah, know? No wonder it's that much of a treat to them.
Delicacy, isn't it? It's like truffles or something.
In the old EU, there was actually a Jawa Jedi.
Yeah. I mean,
this.
No, I know. This is where you know. I know you like the. For sometimes there was things with me where I thought, just no, I wouldn't have did that. And you know, there were so many authors.
Oh no, this was one of those prequel based books. So I didn't read these ones, so I never knew about this. This was not my EU.
I mean, I suppose theoretically, why?
Oh yeah, there was a hut.
You know, Jawas seem to be intelligent enough, but it's kind of like, you know, because they are such a strange, you know, civilization. You know, you don't think of a sand people Jedi, do you?
Tahiri Vila,
because you just don't think. How would they be discovered? How would they, you know, you kind of think that might happen, but they wouldn't tell anyone. They would just keep it in their own, you know, they seem to only deal with other people in a trade.
Like I said, I capacity. They don't named really let one. There was another one too, besides Tahiri. There was another one, and I can't remember his name right now. Anyways.
Was it Itutu?
Not Jawas, Sand people. Tusken Raiders.
Oh, right.
Yeah. There's been a couple of Jedi from them. Anyways.
Anyway.
So episode 3.
They obviously is a change of heart, doesn't he?
Does. He decides he's not gonna. He's got some concerns for the child. Yeah, because he's not quite sure what's going on. He's we've learned at this point. We've seen some flashes of a traumatic childhood that the Mandalorian may have had. At this point, we say may have had, you know, some trauma, and and
can I just say about that, when we did see his flashbacks, the prequel hashtag scenes that we saw looked a hell of a lot better than anything we actually saw in the prequel movies.
Yeah.
The robots gunning people down and stuff like that. If the prequels had been like that, you know, they may have been a lot.
Though I will say, I was happy to see the episode 2 destroyer droids or whatever that upgraded battle droid is called, that shoots from the wrist. I was happy to see those because that scene takes place during the uprising, the Clone Wars, and but I was disappointed to see a new type of like aircraft, like bombing or doing a strafing run. Like why weren't we seeing ships used by the were they the Confederation or some shit like that or whatever?
The Confederacy.
Yeah, like why weren't we seeing other things like that? That was my only complaint there. But yeah, by flashbacks we've learned he's not going to let this kid go get harmed, especially after he hears a conversation about, you know, oh, just get what we need and dump the body, you know.
They were the separatists.
Yeah, that's what it was. There you go.
I don't know. I'm thinking it is getting mixed up with Civil War.
Yeah.
Like
the separatists.
Some reason.
And so Mando goes and rescues the child, and then he's stopped by the guild, the bounty hunter guild, including Grief Karga, tries to fight his way out, saved by the other Mandalorians that are there on Navarro, hidden in secret, and boom, he makes off with the child. What did you think about episode 3 overall?
Yeah, I mean, the final battle with the Mandalorians and everything like that was pretty cool when they come in to rescue him. Yeah, it was, again, good episode, you know. At this time, it's all kind of one story, as you say, so it's at this point, you know, I'm really excited. I can't wait to find out what happens in episode 4, you know. That's the way I was thinking.
So these first 3 episodes, nice, tight little package for you. You're set, you're ready.
All work very well. I'm happy at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Then we get to episode 4, Sanctuary. Like you mentioned, we introduced Cara Dune. Why don't you talk about episode 4 for us?
Yeah, I mean, episode 4 ultimately boils down to Mando's trying to hide somewhere with the child. He goes somewhere where doesn't think anybody will turn up.
A planet called Sorgon.
Sort of... Right, okay. And it's basically like a village, you know, these kind of rustic people that just do their own thing and keep it out of everybody's nose, and he's quite chilled out and happy there. He meets Cara Dune, who kind of can fight. She's an ex-rebellion shock trooper, kind of hiding it because there's people that are looking for her. And yeah, everything's fine, and the idea is there's these aliens that, you know, are this more kind of warlike species who just want to kill them for the fact that they're there. You know, we've seen that a million times before.
They're Klaatunian. They're from Klaatuine. Yeah. Is
that what it is? So I've literally only watched this twice, that one, because I didn't enjoy it. And
happy because
Mando has to
EU
protect them. They have an ATST. They destroy the ATST. There's one woman that kind of Mando talks to, and at the end, you know, a bounty hunter tries to get him and the child, and he realises he's not going to be safe anywhere, and he leaves. And ultimately, that's what that episode's about. But as I say, it just did nothing for me. I just don't get what it was about. I can think of 100 million different ways of introducing the Cara Dune character without having to do that weird Magnificent Seven story almost, you know, which is kind of what it felt like that they were doing. I've never been much of a fan of the Magnificent Seven in the first place, to be honest.
Well, that's funny because
just didn't work for me.
Not a Western fan at all, but I like this show a lot. So, for curiosity, there.
But I mean, I'm not a Western fan, but I love spaghetti westerns. And where Mando works is when it sticks to its spaghetti western roots. What it did in that episode was kind of go to that classic white and black hat western type of thing, and it was just too saccharine for me, you know. Just, you know, it was so obvious. Oh, right, he's going to protect them, and good old Mando, we're going to see this side of him that he wants to protect people, and these poor villagers won't be able to help themselves, but he's going to teach them all how to fight. You know, how many times have we seen that story play I used the Stargate reference earlier on. That must have been about 3 or 4 episodes across 10 seasons of Stargate, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then, I don't know, think of a million other shows that have done it as well. It's just, it feels like that, well, let's do that episode, you know, which every TV show does at some point, and it just was completely unoriginal crap to me.
Jeez.
I was not, and it really was. I thought I didn't enjoy that at all.
I didn't hate it as much as you do. I agree. It's complete fluff that you don't need. There's other ways you can bring Cara into things. The almost romance that they try to have, unless that comes back with some payoff in season 2, that makes this episode even more pointless. but just because it's pointless doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it.
I think the idea was to try and humanise him.
Yeah.
You know, that he might be interested in relationships. Although how he would ever do that, keep my helmet on, you know, I suppose.
I wonder how they're going to retcon the
anyway,
helmet stuff with the Mandalorian characters that they're bringing in from, allegedly bringing in for season 2 versus this Mandalorian.
Well, I mean, I think the fact Katie Sackhoff is in it must, I mean, does anybody really think she's not in it at this point? You know, it wasn't just like a rumour from us. I know we've been given a lot of rumours about this stuff at the moment.
Language.
It came from, it came from a trade, but still people don't believe it because there's a lot of people who don't want to see it, and if they don't want something to happen, they just dig their head in the sand and say, I don't want this to go into a sequel to that story in Rebels because I want to see that done in a different way, you know. But I think we can pretty much say that Rosario Dawson's playing Ahsoka in it. Sasha Banks is in it because we've seen her in the trailer.
Think she's
and again, everyone
Sabine
denies
Wren.
She's playing Sabine, but you know, considering there was a rumour she's playing Sabine and we know we're in it, I'd be very surprised if she's not playing Sabine, but you never know. And I think we know Katie Sackhoff's in it, and you know, there was rumours that you know, she got on really well with one of her co-stars. Then we broke the story that she was due to get her own spin-off show, and then KRT added, but with Bo-Katan, aka Katie Sackhoff as well, because they had it off so well. It just it makes too much sense.
I know. I want to save a little bit of that conversation for our episode next week.
I know.
So
the next week.
But I think we're good with episode 4. I didn't hate it as much as you did, but I definitely do see that it's fluff that could have been put elsewhere. I would have rather had 6 45-minute episodes than the random runtime 8 episodes that we had. And I agree, get rid of some of this fluff in episodes 4 and 5. I actually really like episode 6. So yeah.
Yeah, so I like it as a one-off story. It worked, but if it had been just the middle, see if it had only been, 6 episodes long, and that had just been the one in the middle kind of thing. So like 1, 2, 3, then that. You'd have had to make them a little bit longer to add in some stuff, but Cara Dune could have been brought in somehow in episode 3 or as part of what happened in episode 4. Like she could have been, there was ways to bring her in and still bring that character in without having to go down those 2 routes. But yeah, so I suppose that kind of leads us on to episode 5, which, as I say, for me, you can just literally just cut it out. Just when it comes up next on Disney Plus, just skip it. Go to the next one.
I can mostly agree. In addition to the fact that you don't miss anything story wise, with our main character, you bring in a very annoying shipyard hand mechanic. I don't like her at all. You bring in the little pansy ass fucking Mario Brothers Goomba looking droids from episode 1, which I don't like anything that reminds me of episode 1. And they mention Mos Espa in this episode, which again reminded me of episode 1, which I again don't like being reminded of episode 1. I don't like being reminded of the prequels.
But that's unrealistic though. So they're going to mention these places because they are canon, and
they were in Mos Eisley. Why do you need Mos Espa mentioned?
If they had mentioned it in a great episode that really liked it all together, would you really care?
Yes, I would still be bitchy if this was like The Prisoner.
That's just illogical.
It's what? Oh, I thought you said that's Kyle logical. I was like, oh, am I an adjective now? That's awesome.
Well, it could be. I mean, maybe we could call that Kyleology.
No. I would
something references something and it annoys you so much that it makes you want to look at a film or turn off a TV series, you know. Because I never get such strong... I mean, even the end of Rise of Skywalker absolutely destroying the end of Return of the Jedi, it doesn't make me angry enough to walk out the film. It's just when I go out and somebody says to me, "How was that?" But I think my anger was spent on the prequels. That period where I got angry about that it didn't work the way I want, and now I'm just like, oh, what kind of mess can they get themselves into next year? Because so I kind of almost expected the worst for the Mandalorian, and at this point, we're now in episode 5. I don't even want to talk about it too much because there's just nothing to talk about in that episode.
Point out just a couple of things. Mandalorian needs some help repairing his ship that was damaged in a dogfight with another bounty hunter. He meets. I
like that scene.
Yeah, that was fine. That was cool. Dogfight. Yeah, I was happy with that.
Yeah, I like that scene.
He lands in Mos Eisley on Tatooine, Luke Skywalker's home. He needs money for the repairs, so he goes and takes a job with a guy looking to get into the Bounty Hunters Guild, and he is tracking a legendary assassin played by Miss Ming-Na Wen, who's a wonderful actress.
I like her. Ming-Na Wen.
Not her character here, but I like her.
I'm not a fan of her. I didn't particularly like her character in May and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I kind of liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for being old, even though it was just basically fluff. I kind of liked it, but I never particularly
do you want to hear
her character. I know she was supposed to be very standoffish, but I kind of felt the same thing from her in this.
So here's why I like Ming-Na. Excuse me, you guys have to forgive me. Coke Zero definitely promotes more gas than other sodas. Anyways, Ming-Na was on ER, and I am unabashedly a huge ER fan. Fun note.
It's just not a show
I don't know if
really
you
watched,
know this, but
I don't have much
it's based on a movie Michael Crichton had planned on making, right? And that the first
Michael Crichton,
the pilot is basically a condensed version of his movie for ER. And then it spun off into a really great series. So yes, I like Ming-Na because of that.
I mean, I know a lot of people like it, but hospital series, the only hospital series like I've ever liked, well, as an adult, I'll say, because I remember St. Elsewhere used to be on really late at night in this country. I don't know why. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I remember when I'd be lying in my bed sometimes and I couldn't sleep before I would go to school, and I'd hear the St. Elsewhere music coming on. And I would get up and see if my mum would let me watch it with her. So there's some kind of... I think that was just because I didn't want to go to bed, though, to be honest with you. So the only real kind of hospital series I've ever enjoyed was House. I liked House. But...
I hate House.
The rest, I've never...
I love Scrubs and ER. Like, I...
Well, I mean, I wasn't thinking comedy, but, just serious
ones. ER's my thing.
It's not my kind of thing.
That shit right there. Give me some...
but you like
fucking
the
Dr. Carter
like
and Dr. Chen. Yeah, absolutely. Mainline that shit. Give it to me. I'm down. Anyways, the only important scene here is something we think might be connected to season 2. At the very end of this episode, Phoenix Shand, the character played by Ming-Na, is left alone in the desert, basically, and a character walks up to her. It is theorized that none other than Boba fucking overrated Fett is the guy walking up to her. Cam on a yeah. Oh, you didn't hear? That's what people who now think that's who's walking up to her.
I mean, that kind of makes sense considering that we kind of know that. So do you think that was him just making a bit of money, collecting the bounty kind of thing?
Maybe, or maybe she knows who has his armor, Mr. Timothy Oliphant. Yeah, that's right. I remember the rumors from months ago.
Yeah, I mean that all seems
highly likely. Very likely.
I mean, in the trailer we can see Boba Fett's jetpack on the back of Mando's speeder, so you know it doesn't take a genius to work out some of this stuff. Again, we'll get into that more next week, but yeah, that would make sense, and in some ways might give, you know, if I was ever doing a rewatch again, I'd maybe skip to the very end, and I'd maybe watch the dogfight at the start and then put it in fast forward till that shot at the end, just because it has a relevance, you know. But the middle part,
check it out. Do yourself a favor and check out that ending scene and for next week. Okay, do that. That's your homework. There you go. Then I need to put that episode on, and then Disney look at it and say, "Oh, he's actually watched it. He must like it. He must like it because he's watched it now." I want them statistically to see that one. I'm having too much fun with this stuff, man. I miss talking to you for these longer podcasts. Usually I'm just yelling at you because you just asked me to remember like how many rings are on Saturn in the scene of Transformers Dark of the Moon when the satellite passes through.
I just like exposing your brain damage. Hell, that's what it is. You know, I wonder if before that had happened to you, you know, you would have been like an ace.
I don't know. True.
You can pretend you would. You know, you can just pretend you would.
Breaking heart.
But you're still actually the reigning champion.
I am, and thank you. But true breaking hearts story is my one dream has always been to make it to the actual in person, because I don't think I'm good enough to actually play on TV, but at least make it to the in person tryouts for Jeopardy, and it's probably never going to happen. But anyways, thank you for bringing it up, you motherfucking asshole.
It's not a show.
Let's talk about the goddamn prisoner.
Popular in this country. Yeah, let's talk about the prisoner, because I think we both liked that.
So here's a funny thing about this episode. Mando hooks up with some old contacts. He's gonna go retrieve a asset from a prisoner ship. He gets very little information, including the fact that they're gonna use his ship for transportation.
Yeah, it's all very, this is dodgy, you know he's getting that feeling all the time.
Shit.
You know, I mean, you know, it's done really well, you know, because as the audience you're going, I don't trust them, but you think, Din Djarin knows these guys, do you know what I mean? He knows them, and he's in this business, so don't fret, and of course, he's got it all under control, doesn't he? You know.
He definitely knows to expect a backstab. He just doesn't know when or how.
Yeah, doesn't know when it's coming.
But hey,
and he needs somewhere to lie low, so he kind of has to do this. He's kind of caught between the rock and a hard place.
But this is
like, okay, you know, and that's that classic spaghetti western thing as well. It's like the two bounty hunters go together, and you know your hero one. You know, our anti-hero one is going to get double-crossed at some point. But it's done in a futuristic setting, and it's quite a claustrophobic setting as well, all on that ship, you know. It must have been a fairly, apart from the kind of final space scene, you know, which would have been a bit, but it must have been a relatively lower budget episode to shoot that, because it's just building that set,
and reusing hallways.
It works well.
A as hallway D.
Yeah, I mean, you just put a... Yeah, exactly. You know, that's not hard to do.
Besides the Western thing, there's another property that this thing borrows from heavily, and that's Alien. the compartmentalized space when the lights go down to red. The Mandalorian hunting down his betrayers one by one. My father, who is how do I explain my dad? He's spent 21 years in the United States infantry. I'm not going to put his business all out there, but he did his job in real life. And he's a history teacher now. I love my dad dearly. He's a fucking dweeb. He's such a fucking dweeb. He's a historian, though. He's a published, like, in a historical journal, historian, as well as teaching both military history and history slash civics in high school where he lives. But he got that. He was like, ooh, this is like Alien. And I'm like, oh my God, I love my daddy.
Yeah, my dad would never have got that, but he would have got the Magnificent Seven episode. Because my dad's an absolute crazy Western fan, like the old style stuff, not the spaghetti westerns, like John Wayne and
my dad got
White
all
Hat,
of those. Like, and I can't, because I don't like westerns. Like, I didn't even realize these were references. Like in episode 1, he's like, this and this is like a reference to such and such Ronald Reagan film, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's some of the Ronald Reagan films. I mean, I've seen all these films, that's the thing, although I don't like them, because when I was young, there were so many channels in the TV.
Especially over there in Europe, you poor bastards.
My dad was watching a cowboy film, I mean, a black and white fucking cowboy film. I was watching a black and white cowboy film, you know?
You finally got cable and satellite in what, like 98, right?
89.
Sorry, that was Germany. No, the UK is definitely way ahead. I'm sorry. My anti-European bias is coming through.
No, but you're right. In terms of TV, we didn't have a lot. So, we had 4 channels up until like 1989, and then Sky TV came out, which was satellite TV.
Nice, cool. Well, anyways, I've had my fun.
Up until then, it was just like stick a fork in the back of the in the back of a portable TV, and you could pick up all 4
I'm not
channels.
done having my fun because you're a few years older than me. Not a whole lot, but a few.
I just turned 42.
Like I said, not a whole lot, a few. You're like just barely 6 years older than me. That's not a whole lot. But I feel older than you because of multiple things I'm not going to bring up. But one of them, I bought an HD antenna. I don't know about the UK, but years and years ago, I think like 2012, the US moved all broadcast networks over to HD frequencies. And so we cut the cord this year because I retired. Yay! Not really, because it's medical retirement and I didn't want it. But we got an HD antenna finally to get our local news channels back for weather, traffic, whatever. We got appointments and things to do. It's good to have that information. And holy fuck, it's not joking when it says HD antenna. It legitimately pumps out like 5.1 channels, surround sound, and 1080i imaging. Like, it's ridiculous. And it can get it from like 40 miles away. So, yeah.
We don't have any analog frequencies anymore. It's all digital now. They kind of, I don't know how many years ago they stopped that, but when I was a kid, I remember, your TV, I can remember back when your TV had a dial on it, you know what I mean, that you tuned in the channel, like that, and we only had 4 channels. And if a movie was on, everybody was watching that movie because it was very rare you got movies. They didn't have the money to pay for like rights to movies. So it wasn't until Sky TV came in 1989 that they had like a movie channel. Up until then it was, you had to go to Blockbuster or the thousands of local chains of video stores that
that's just like
so you literally watched whatever your parents were watching. So a lot of my upbringing was watching these shitty cowboy films, which I wouldn't watch now.
Here it was like only one TV was connected to the roof antenna, which actually got good signal. Every other TV in the house had rabbit ear antenna, and it didn't do so well. But this HD thing just sits on my wall and it does great. Anyways, episode 6 actually worth watching. Really, really enjoy it. I love the aliens stuff.
Even
I
just
like
as a standalone episode, you can just watch it.
It's
I only have one criticism.
Great, yeah, like
the Twilight.
If you've never seen The Mandalorian, go watch episode 6. What's that?
Yeah, but I think I forget her name. The female Twilight. I thought the actress that portrayed her, it was just too over the top.
Zian, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She was the only one I didn't really like out of that kind of crew.
Bill Burr was great.
I love the droid. The droid being, what's his name? Iodi, the guy, the British guy that's from the IT crowd, was fantastic. And of course Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown's brilliant in everything he's in, and if Clancy Brown's in something, he does a good job. He's actually
how are you not mentioning
actor,
Bill Burr yet?
Brown,
though, come on now.
But I'm getting to that. And Bill Burr, I thought was really, really good in it as well. And he's definitely coming back for The Mandalorian season 2 in some capacity. I don't know exactly how yet, but he is coming back. That's been confirmed. The only one out of that crew I didn't, and I like the guy, I can't remember his name, with a beard that was kind of orchestrating things back at the base as well. He's just got that shady feel about him. The only one I didn't really like was Zila or whoever it was. I just thought she was just a little bit over the top with her.
She felt like she
almost played it.
No. This is what it felt like. It felt like the day before filming, she watched Suicide Squad and was like, oh, Harley Quinn. That's what I should do. That was my Yeah. Just
she didn't work for me, but on a whole, the episode was really, really good. But at the time, I was still concerned because I still thought this is just going to be one-off half-an-hour episodes that don't mean anything, and I'm kind of worried about this at this point, even though I like this one. But if I'm going to, is it going to be like I like 2 or 3 episodes each season? So I was a bit concerned, and I was hoping they kind of got back to the main story. Luckily, we then get episode 7.
Before we do, I will say that episode 4, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard and written by Jon Favreau. Episode 5, both written and directed by Dave Filoni. Episode 6, once again, directed by Rick Famuyiwa, who was once set to direct the Flash film. Story by Christopher Yost. And then it says on the Wikipedia, teleplay by Chris Yost and Rick Famuyiwa. Yost, you guys might know as an actual comic book writer. That's how I actually best know him. He used to work with, God, what was his name? Shit. His last name is Kyle, because that's my name. Craig Kyle. He's worked with Craig Kyle a lot in Marvel, including on X-23, which a lot of people liked in that god-awfully boring fucking film Logan. But anyways, and then no, that's episode 6. So yeah, we're all good. We're on to episode 7, directed by Deborah Cho, who's doing the Obi-Wan show, right?
And I thought her episodes were the best directed out of them all as well, other than
Yes, The Sin. But she directed The Sin, and then Deborah Cho episode 7 we're talking now.
Talent. I think she's got some talent.
Episode 7 and 8, I will say, just so I don't have to, who episode 7, Deborah Cho directed, John Favreau wrote, Taika Waititi directed episode 8, and John Favreau, god damn it. Sorry guys, it gets frustrating sometimes.
He wrote
directed episode 8, or wrote episode 8. John Favreau wrote 7 and 8. Deborah Chow directed. Taika Waititi directed. Episode 7, Cam, take us through it.
I mean, I suppose episode 7's all set up, isn't it? Really, it's a bit right. How do we, get ourselves out of this situation? So, Mando gets a call from Grief Karga, come back and we'll sort all this out, kind of thing. And yet, and he knows that it's some kind of trap. It's all completely obvious. However, I think he's forced into a situation where he kind of has to try and do something, or he's just going to get shot at the sky at some point. So he heads back and he recruits Cara Dune to come with him, a bit of persuasion, and Queel as well. And they go back, and they're obviously going to be betrayed by Grief Karga, but then the child kills Grief Karga, and he has a change of heart, shoots the other two guys, and kind of fills Mando in that it was going to be a trap in the first place. And after that, Mando basically goes and kicks some ass. And obviously the difference being now is we also get introduced to IG-11 again, who has been reprogrammed by Queel, and is now basically a
no. You're getting into episode 8 funny. Actually. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Does that happen in episode
IG-11 shows back up in 8. So yeah, like the last thing that happens in 7 is Queel dies and the stormtrooper picks up the child.
Yeah, but IG-11 is already back by that point.
Yes. Earlier we see, I think it's in episode 3.
Yeah, we see him getting reprogrammed and all that in episode 7. That he's been reprogrammed, and you see that Queel's taught him how to move things for him and do jobs for him.
7? Yeah, you're right. I apologize. Yep. I'm sorry. Keep going.
And then he goes with them, but they obviously. Din Djarin doesn't trust him because he's a droid, going back to his history and everything like that. So he just gets left on the
oh god, what is it? Razor Crest.
Yeah, the Razor Crest. Well, kind of they go and we Grief Karga, etc. And then all those kind of flying things attack them, which was a pretty cool scene. My only issue with this whole episode, because I think it works really good and it leaves you in a nice cliffhanger as well, is the healing itself, which I have a problem with. I don't know, but it's too coincidental
that
to me
week
that episode released the week of the Rise of Skywalker,
healing is central.
Like yes. I think they were mandated to maybe do that, to break it in slowly, that this healing ability was going to come in, so it wasn't such a shock when Rey does it.
That is the only reason.
And I don't know. I dare say Jon Favreau would never admit to that if he was told to put that in. But I just do not think for a moment that wasn't planned.
That's why
it's too much of a coincidence.
That's why Baby Yoda tried to heal Din. Sorry, I don't know why I keep trying to call him Din, but Din.
Yeah,
tried to heal the Mandalorian Din. In episode 2, we knew what he was trying to do. We saw it, and then in episode 7, literally the day before.
I think I felt it would be.
Or if you caught Thursday night previews, the day before mass release of the Rise of Skywalker, where Force healing is revealed 4 times. Let's see, Snake, Kylo, and then he does it to Rey. So 3 times. Okay, so 3 times.
3 times in that, and then it was.
And then the time in this.
Obviously,
yeah.
the child does it as well.
I didn't mind.
So if they had, I don't mind healing if they hadn't have made it as really powerful as what it was. You know, you could have kind of made it so it was kind of the way like Obi-Wan touched. You know, Luke, as if he was probing his mind, but I know a lot of people say, "Oh, he healed him now," but there's a difference between that.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
You can maybe recover somebody. You can maybe make them feel a little bit better. To actually seeing the flesh all knit together, and to me, it's power creep. It's making Jedis be able to do whatever they need to be able to do to get people out the plot.
Bullshit.
You have to put limits on that, and I think Tolkien was a master of that because he never, you know,
his wizards were never overpowered or anything like that. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I will say
never
this.
Did that, and he, you know, even Sauron was never, you know, never did anything like just magically kill people. It was all just a little bit more subtle. That he put limits on it, you know, to what you could actually do, and I think that needs to be applied to these kind of properties.
I'm a huge EU fan. I know Force healers existed. There was a Mon Cal Force user. Her name was spelled, I think, Cilghal. I always just called her Seagull. Just because that's the closest thing I could come up with in middle school.
It was kind of it was unusual. It was as if it was a special ability.
But she could. It was a specialized thing. She could do it. She appeared in many books. Unfortunately, she appeared most heavily in Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, which I know you're not a huge fan of.
I just generally don't
Dark Saber really wasn't good either. I get it.
Was absolutely laughably bad.
I do. The reason why I have some reverence for the Jedi Academy trilogy is because of I, Jedi, which is a concurrent book written by the amazing Michael A. Stackpole. Who I did.
I like Stackpole as well.
Who I did get to interview last year.
You did get
for fucking 3 hours. Just almost 3 hours, which you guys can find here as part of LR Mornings.
Yeah, it's on here.
Yep.
Go listen to it.
Anyways, my thoughts on episode 7. I really like it. 7 and 8 to me just flows so good together. It's like watching Infinity War and then watching Endgame.
It's like one episode.
It's great.
Yeah, it says it's one episode.
Exactly. It's smooth. I love it. I feel Quill and his.
You can see the direction changes between the two, which I liked as well. You can tell.
I feel Quill's desperation to reach the ship where he knows IG-11 is waiting.
Really sad,
like he knows that IG unit can save me and the child. And he's just trying to get there, and you can feel that desperate. He's ignoring the Mandalorian calling.
And he could have flew off as well.
So episode 7 has a lot of like
that you can't win.
Setting expectations like in Infinity War did. Thanos fucking snapped. Half of the fucking universe doesn't exist anymore. What now, Avengers? Like this is what's happening in this.
And in this one, it was Creel dying, and it's like we watch these things for drama, right? So you love it almost when I characterize, because we like to feel the emotion and the impact of it, and it feels real. But at the same time, he was such a good character.
Oh, so sad
to see him die, because
but such a valuable sacrifice for story. Yes,
it does. It's that's the kind of thing that's going to stick with Mando, and it kind of rubs off a little bit in IG-11
and we'll get there a little bit more when we talk to about episode 8. So let's go ahead and did you have any last things about 7 itself?
No, it was just
Moff Gideon showing up in yet another TIE fighter alteration.
Esposito, I love. Anytime he's in anything, I think the guy is just.
Oh, I love him in The Boys season 2 as Mr. Edgar. He's so good.
It's and he's just the perfect bad guy, and yeah, he's great in The Boys, he's great in Breaking Bad, he's great in Better Call Saul. And a lot of people say, well, he's kind of getting typecast.
Who cares? Shit!
Who cares? Because he just...
Look at
he's got a mesmerising face, hasn't he? He does so much work with his eyes.
Look at...
like in the way that I think Al Pacino did a lot of work with his eyes.
Yes, I will agree.
That's the way I see it.
Pacino was great with facial acting.
You can read his face. You can read what's going on in his head by the way he plays the role without him having to say too many words, and that's what's great about Esposito. And he's great as Moff Gideon. He's the perfect, not just another actor might ham it up too much as Moff Gideon, but you just don't get that from Esposito. He underplays everything, and that's what works about him. He looks sinister, he acts sinister, but he comes across as almost a gentleman as well. So really
which most
Moffs
that we know of were kind of gentlemanly. So, anyways, episode 8, IG-11 rescues the child from some hilarious scout troopers. Like I said, episode 8 is directed by Taika Waititi,
we need to
who
talk
also
about
voices
that, though, because
IG-11.
Although Favreau wrote it,
go ahead.
Surely Waititi wrote that scene with the stormtroopers, though. There's no way Favreau wrote that.
Well, no, you know what? I don't know. No, look. That is 100% typical Taika Waititi comedy and a Star Wars fan having fun with Star Wars. So I can actually see a chance that is Jon Favreau, because I know he is a fan. I would pay to know who wrote that.
Waititi added that in, or Favreau wrote it with Waititi in mind.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Because it's just the perfect, and it's a throwaway. And it could be that, like, under a different hand, that could be, well, that was weird the way everything's tense and dramatic that's going on in the show. But actually, it's just perfect.
It felt so EU.
It's one of the best scenes. To the point we were saying, I would absolutely watch, a show about these two stormtroopers. And it's like, that could have been their end point, but you could watch a show about them being in various situations that we know throughout the saga, but somehow always surviving and sticking together, and then they get another job somewhere,
I tell you what. They
just survive, and it's just a comedy show.
At the risk of breaking some anger that's going to come out next week, I would watch that over the fucking bunch of backdoor pilots we're about to get. But anyways, continue on.
Yeah, I mean, I just loved it. It's probably one of the best things I've seen in Star Wars. It was almost Robot Chickens, but within the canon of the show, it didn't break that you can go too far and you can break the immersion when you do something like that. But Waititi just knows how to keep that tightrope line. And it's the way he did in Ragnarok as well. Ragnarok, such an out-and-out comedy almost, but it still feels absolutely like a Marvel film, and it doesn't feel like a place in the MCU. And that's the
not only
genius of it.
that I know Favreau wrote, but there's nobody that's going to tell Taika Waititi what to say. I don't even think he told himself what to say as Korg. I almost guarantee everything Korg has ever said that we see on screen was ad-lib. And I know for a fact, watching a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on Jojo Rabbit, a lot of what you see on Jojo Rabbit with imaginary Hitler, Taika Waititi playing imaginary Hitler, is all fucking like ad libs. So nobody's gonna tell Taika what to say. Every phrase IG-11 says, I believe, I buy. I love the character, and I love Taika's delivery of the lines.
I mean, who thought when we knew that the series was coming out and there was going to be an IG droid in it, and we thought, is it going to be like a bad bounty hunter that the Mando has to fight at some point? Because we didn't know what we were going to get into, and we just thought, well, IG-88 that probably is, and actually that the whole creation of IG-11 was just genius. It really was.
Suck it, Jammer.
The progression from where he started off. What did
he does not like the
IG-11?
IG-11 because he doesn't like shit that connects to. He doesn't like world building. Remember, he doesn't like shit that connects. He loves. Fucking, I'm calling you out. Do you hear me, Joseph Jammer Medina? I'm calling you out, bitch, because you love that there's like no Rodians, no Quarren. I mean, like Akbar's like the only fucking. Well, no, there's like two or three Moncals that we see. But other than Moncals, what aliens did you notice in the fucking sequel trilogy set only a whole whopping 30 years after the OT, you know? Shit. Fuck. I love this because it has familiar
and it does, it has all those classic aliens. But it did add a few new ones, but not every time. Yes. Not every alien was new.
Three
a lot
movies,
of them were
new aliens, new worlds.
Because the galaxy's populated by. If there's humans everywhere all over the galaxy, there should be as many Rodians or Twi'leks, you know, they should be as... There's no reason for there to be more humans than everybody else, you know, even though most of the main characters were humans. I mean, the idea was the rebellion was made up of so many humans because a lot of them were expats, if you like, from Alderaan.
Alderaan, Coruscant,
Corellia. What happened with that. You know, well, Corellia in the old days was a human world, whereas in the Solo movie, you kind of don't know what it is. You know, it just seems like
it's Imperial already, and it's mixed race. But in the EU, it was a very, very human. It is mixed, but it's human predominant. Anyways,
as opposed to something like Mon Calamari, where you know you've got the Quarren and the Mon Calamaris, you know. Kind of thing, and you know there should be, you know, these species are mixed with each other all over the universe, so there should be constantly adding new ones. It's not Star Trek where they're investigating a new planet every week and they find a new species. Do you know what I mean? It's
and this is where the like diehard I'm Star Wars tattooed Kyle is coming out. There are certain species that are more important than other species because of what they've contributed. The Mon Cal and what they've contributed as far as spacecraft and engineering. The Bottans as far as what they contributed as far as politics and espionage.
Although, are the Bothans a species, or is it just one guy called Manny Bothans?
No, they're species.
Manny Bothans died to bring us this first vision. God damn it, Manny! You were the best spy in the rebellion! And he was just a human called Manny Bothans.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And we know that there's like, so I want to see some of those known alien species embraced because here in America and much of the Western world, which is more blended than say the Near East or Far Eastern world is, simply through immigration and stuff like that, in a universe. Diversity is not shown by humans that are of various shades of skin color. It's shown by various aliens, and having familiar faces is important.
I feel in the Star Wars universe there's no race thing, because humans would kind of come together as one race, if you like,
exactly.
because you've got all these other species. But this isn't a universe where we've just met these species for the first time.
No.
I mean, the Republic's 1,000 years
yes.
old. Before that, the Jedi Sith Wars were going thousands of years as well.
Yes.
This is a galaxy that's been connected by hyperspace travel for
thousands,
possibly the entirety of the human recorded history.
At least since the first civilizations.
So these people have mixed together as much as humans have
you
mixed
guys think
together over the
Uruk
years,
is
you know what I
old?
mean?
Like Star Wars makes Uruk or Ur, which is a one of the first major cities in that sat between the Euphrates and the Tigris back when it actually had a real delta, like an actual real delta. Or Uruk was down there anyway, like thousands and thousands of years ago. Yeah, like Star Wars has that.
Yeah.
So I like seeing an IG droid.
Older. Yeah, I mean, and it's not just older in terms of. It's older in terms of an advanced civilization. You know what I mean? If you to go back to the history of some of these planets prior to when they were discovered hyperspace travel and everything, it's almost so far behind in the Star Wars universe. No one knows. None of it's really recorded. They've never went back that
I'll
far.
put it this way.
So it's a very old universe, and all these people should be mixed together. You're absolutely
in the
right.
days of the EU. And remember, I was not a big fan of the prequel EU, like the shit that was being written to expand, on prequel stuff. I wasn't a big fan of that. But I could talk about 40,000 years of Star Wars history. Like, legitimately, I could talk about 40,000 years of Star Wars history at one point in my life.
40,000 years ago, humans were,
40,000 years ago were pre-pottery, Neolithic, right?
Yeah, I mean, they I think we only go back something like 100,000 years, isn't it? I think the oldest Homo sapien remains are found around about 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think
the species evolving. So
I think 8,000 BC-ish is pre-pottery Neolithic, so that's New Stone Age. Like we've had the stone tools for a while. What the fuck? This is not goddamn Simon Whistler and fucking geographics or biographics. We're talking episode 8 of The Mandalorian here, Cam. What the fuck are you doing? Get me off on history.
You started
shit.
I didn't come in with notes to say,
I did.
Right, let's go on. I never take notes.
Anyways, at the end of the...
But yeah, episode 8. Go for it.
At the end of episode 8, after her basically rescuing the child from Moff Gideon through the sewers, the IG-11 self-destructs to destroy stormtroopers waiting to ambush the Mandalorian, Grief Karga, Cara Dune, and the child. So IG-11 dies, and then Gideon attacks Mandalorian and company. Mando, who had just recently received his Rising Phoenix jetpack, as well as his signet, the Mudhorn.
Signet. I said sigil, didn't I? But it was signet.
Signet, yeah. Signet, the Mudhorn, which he had defeated way back in episode 2.
3.
With the child, 2. The Mudhorn.
2. Yeah, 2. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then Mando helps bring down the TIE fighter with Moff Gideon, who, after Mando leaves with the child, Karga and Dune hang on Navarro, we see Moff Gideon cut himself out of the TIE fighter with none other than the Dark Saber. Dun 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 dun.
Dark Saber. So at this point, by the time I've watched this, I'm going, I know that, but I don't know why it's there, and I don't understand any of the connection to this, because I had never watched Rebels at this point. So at this point, that's when I went and watched Rebels, and I thought, actually, Rebels is a lot better than I ever thought it was going to be.
Lying sack of shit. Fuck. No, I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm joking.
I hated the animation style of Rebels.
Oh god, yeah, it is
compared
garbage.
to the Clone Wars. I enjoyed the Clone Wars, but I didn't like Rebels because I'd only watched the first season. And when you look at back, season 1 of Rebels is shit. It's just awful. But it does get better as it goes on if you excuse the crap animation style, which I'm not saying it's crap animation. I mean, it's better than
so
anything I could ever
hard
pull off.
to forgive.
It's just
bad animation.
I just prefer the style that was used in the Clone Wars. That just works better for me. And if Rebels had did that style, I think it would have been 10 times more popular than what it was.
I mean, no joke,
actually,
Cam.
Apart from a few things which I agree with you on about Rebels, I thought Rebels was really good. The time travel gets a bit crazy for me. Kind of not keen on that as well. Again, it's the whole power creep thing. But other than
also,
that,
how does a kid? How does a kid that runs around on a single freighter become the arch nemesis of a grand admiral of fleet? Like, that makes no sense.
He's not really. I mean, I don't think that's not the way Thrawn sees it. Thrawn sees them as being the act of rebellion, and he knows the ship, and he's in fact. I would say Thrawn's more nemesis is Hera.
Look.
Because Hera's the leader.
Look.
And it's more, Ezra's just this annoying kid that kind of shows up sometimes until you kind of get to the finale point. Because obviously Ezra is the one that's with Thrawn at that point.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and hold you off there, and in the chance that I piss off Mr. Timothy Zahn, I'm sorry, but me Thrawn Naruto, however you want to pronounce his traditional EU name, Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, does not waste his time with a freighter. Sorry, he doesn't.
But have you watched all Rebels?
Not all of it. No.
Well,
I know he has a bigger campaign. I know there's capital class battles.
Criticize it though.
But still, there's no way this kid.
This is a different, for a start. This is a different Thrawn from the one.
I know, but that one was so good.
So, this Thrawn's been set a very specific task by the Emperor, but it's not exactly. At that point, the rebellion is so small that the Emperor doesn't particularly give it that much importance. So for Thrawn, this is merely just a stepping stone. But the character that he is, he always wants to do it well. And he is actually very successful, Thrawn, in stopping the rebellion. But obviously he is up against, Kanan is a almost fully qualified Jedi, if you like. Never really went through the trials, but he's an adult and he was trained by a proper Jedi, and everything like that. And he's obviously training Ezra. So he is going up against Jedis with kind of realising it, and that's usually what kind of wins the day, isn't it? It's something to do with kind of them using their abilities or whatever.
But without
but the world building and all that, after the first couple of seasons it starts to get better, and Filoni seems to grow in confidence, and he starts exploring some of the stuff to do with the Jedi and the dogma, and how things change getting into the OT, and there's actually quite a lot of stuff in there. And the Obi-Wan episode is very, very good.
The Obi-Wan,
it's worth watching
Darth
that
Maul
alone.
stuff.
Darth Maul's
I've seen the fight.
Excellent in it. Is just a broken sort of shadow of what he was before. I really kind of enjoyed the Rebels version of Darth Maul, even more so than the one that was in the Clone Wars, because he's lost everything. At that point.
But he's coming back for Solo too. Ooh.
Oh, I don't. No we'll see.
We needed him to stand up and turn on his lightsaber and then show his penis to the... Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Well, we've heard, you know, and it's not been reported anywhere else, that they basically chucked him out as Darth Maul at that point because there was plans to kind of move forward with some Darth Maul stuff. But since that, we've heard nothing about any of that, and it does make me wonder whether that's affected Disney's plans a little bit, and they've kind of maybe moved off in a slightly different direction.
Possibly.
Anyway,
yeah. IG-11
but yeah,
ends up
now
destroyed.
That I understand the dark saber.
And then the dark saber shows up.
If we get to that, I kind of get now how very much the Mandalorian is connected to Rebels, you know, which I hadn't kind of realised before. So it kind of makes sense that if they're going to then explore the sequel to Rebels, that it all ties into the Mandalorian being the kind of first step of that. Ahsoka, you know,
Bo-Katan,
Sabine, Ezra. I'm not kind of too sure about the Bo-Katan Cara Dune show, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes in that one. But what we need to do, and that's getting into more next week about what we think is going to happen. But really, before we can see what we think, we have to see how this all comes together in season 2, which is still very much about the Mandalorian and the child. It's a story of those two at the moment. And we need to kind of see how that's all going to play out and where the story is actually going, because we just, you know, there's not enough there at the moment to predict how this is all going.
It is nice to hear that so some of those rumors that Pedro had already walked are not necessarily seemingly true. That yes, there may have been some discussions, but it doesn't seem like he's necessarily left.
No, from what we heard from our source, there was just what you get in every production. You sometimes get disagreements, but they were resolved fairly quickly. KRT heard roughly the same thing as us, in terms of, you know, there's no big drama that was reported that he's not coming back or anything like that. They've already, I mean, put it this way, he and Jon Favreau were speaking to Variety, obviously, ahead of this release, and they've basically told you when season 3's starting. So they're not going to do any of that and then announce that Pedro Pascal's left.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that as time goes on and, you know, he maybe comes across Mandalorians who don't refuse to take their helmet off, that he might, that might be a change of heart that he has in that way, and then we could actually see his face on
Bo
screen
and
more.
Sabine themselves, even.
But
maybe.
it needs to be a natural progression, you know, to where he's comfortable with that. And I think that's something that we could get to by season 3. We could maybe have a situation where he you know, he is prepared to take his mask off when he's not in battle, etc., or he's maybe reluctant to, he feels weird about it at first, but they then gradually kind of bring it in, because I think, you know, it's almost a guarantee that they'll be pushing ahead with season 4 as well. And if they are going to have all these spin-off shows, you know, where's them? I would imagine they're building it towards some sort of climax at some point. I don't know what that climax is. We don't know enough about the story to see where that's going yet, but I think as, you know, season 2 comes out, I think round about when season 3's hitting, that might be when we start to see some of these spin-offs kind of kick in for the first time, because I think they, you know, they haven't, certainly I don't think they've started anything to do with them other than developing them at the moment.
We've got,
and I would
Obi-Wan
still say, even though
Cassian Andor plus Marvel stuff to get through 2021.
Yeah, and even though our source, you know, only tells us about the stuff that's really kind of pushing ahead, you know, it's still going to be early development, so I wouldn't be surprised if something gets lost along the way. You know, one of those things doesn't end up happening. Not because it wasn't, but just as they develop it, they find out it doesn't quite work right. And you know, they kind of move back from it a little bit. But I could be wrong. I am concerned that, you know, and I know you are as well, you know, that they're just spinning it out too much.
A bunch of backdoor pilots for season 2.
I wasn't too bothered until I heard about the carriage and Bo-Katan thing, because that's the one where I thought, I think that's maybe a step too far. Mando needs to have regular secondary characters as well, with carriage and not work as a secondary character. You can't just keep, every time somebody becomes popular, you get your own show. You can't do that. Whereas the other ones that they're talking about, they're not really Mandalorian characters, but she's a Mandalorian character, and would she not be better staying in the Mandalorian rather than moving on to her own show? I'm just
it's
not sure
one thing to spin off Ahsoka or Ezra, Thrawn into live action, but to spin off Cara, that's different. Yeah, I agree.
Overall,
I would say on my third viewing of the Mandalorian, on an A through F scale with pluses and minuses, I would give this a solid A minus. What do you give it on retrospect after watching it the second time?
I think I have to agree, because I think there's highs and lows, and we've talked about them throughout this show already, so I'm not going to repeat myself in terms of where I think the problems were. We talked about that extensively earlier on. I think that's what stops it, because to me the good parts were the best Star Wars I've seen since the original trilogy.
Oh god, yeah. Literally feels like Star Wars to where you want to grip your chest and rip out your heart and offer it to the TV screen, right? That's normal, right?
Yeah, well,
keep going.
I don't know. But I like Dave Filoni. I like Jon Favreau. I like what they're doing. I just think they need to work in that filler in the middle. Didn't work for me, and it's the only reason it's not getting an A+, is it within an A-, because I still love season 1, but I don't think I would ever watch episode 4 or episode 5 again, other than I'll watch
so what
that
was
one
your final grade
for next week. Final grade, same as you, A-, because the pluses were so high.
Cool.
It takes it up to
Cool.
A-.
Well, guys, there, guys, you have it, an A- from both myself and Cam. In the future, what to look for from the Cantina? I might start writing again. We got a lot more Star Wars stuff coming up, and that might, if you guys are interested in seeing a weekly Star Wars column at lrmonline.com, please let me know, and I'll start writing again. I'll start coming up with shit to BS for 5 minutes about.
You're going to have to
5 minutes.
Kyle, you're going to have to read
what's
these
that?
High Republic books.
Oh God, no! I can't.
No, I think that has to.
It
be
hurts.
I can't. Can you not read very much at the moment? No.
I'm gonna admit something that I really probably shouldn't admit. It hurts to read.
Yeah.
For extended periods of time. I'm still recovering from a head injury. Everyone from a year ago.
That's
anyways.
Maybe when you get better. That's
maybe.
Because
holy shit.
It's fair enough.
I would Mike Stackpole,
just for purely scientific purposes, but I'm still knee deep in the Wheel of Time books, and I want to finish them before the first season of the show comes out, and it's like 14 books long, and they are not small books, and I'm on 8 or 9, I believe, at the moment, so I've kind of hit what they call the slog in the series, and I have been struggling to kind of catch it, but I've just had so little time to read at the moment as well, but yeah, I don't have time to kind of pick up anything else, and when I do, I think I'll probably get start the Stormlight Archive ones, because me and Jammer thought it might be good to talk about that, as me as a first time reader, and he's kind of really into that series, so we'll see how that goes as well. But yeah, maybe we'll get to the High
future
Republic
possible podcast and written projects right there. I have an open invite for a BattleTech author's interview with Mike Stackpole again. Because last time I interviewed him, I only did like an hour on non-Star Wars stuff, but did like an hour and a half on Star Wars stuff.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because he's got an interesting history in gaming and writing for BattleTech, as well as everything with Star Wars. But we spent a lot of time, and I already wrote him, and he's already like, yeah, when you're finished reading my BattleTech books, hit me up and we'll do another interview. So look for that sometime in the future when I can finish a 500-page book in 2 days or less and get through all of Mike Stackpole's BattleTech books.
Yeah.
Look for that. But most of all, ladies and gentlemen, what you should be looking for. What's that?
Can you get them in audio? Because that might be.
I can, but audio is so fucking slow. Like, even though it gives me a headache to read, I still read faster than audiobook.
Right, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
not
quite quite read.
I don't know.
It's for me. I'm the same.
It's a weird situation. Might be because of my history of TBIs across time. I'm not. It's not normal. I'll talk to you offline. Anyway, yep. Ladies and gentlemen, check out lrmonline.com every single day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Yes, subscribe. Click that little button. Even if you actually never, ever listened to another interview, it still helps us out with the algorithm, puts us in front of more eyes, and allows those that do enjoy the content to get more of it. And, of course, do the exact same with the LRM Online Podcast Network. Great shows like Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast on Fridays, LR Mornings every Monday through Friday with yours truly. And coming up for the next few weeks, the Cantina. The Cantina podcast, where Cam and I will be discussing.
So,
what's that?
When you work at all, there's going to be 10. So, the 2 weeks before it and then one for each episode. So,
yes.
Yeah, there'll be 10 in total.
So, legitimately, he for like the next two months plus, you have got Cantina content coming from me and Cam. And just so you guys know, there might be some special guests joining us along the way. Wink, wink. Anyways, hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts from. So that way you could be freshly alerted when new content hits. Cam, where can people find you at online?
At LRM_Cam on Twitter, and basically working on the website obviously during the week, so you can find me on there. My email address is on the website, but if you need it, it's cam@lrmonline.com. That's where you can find me.
There you guys go. You guys can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. I am an incredibly vocal person, and now that I am retired, believe it or not, I have more freedom than ever before to voice my opinion on things. So go ahead, send a friend request to @that Kyle Malone on Twitter, and let's talk about some shit. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next week, we talk about what we know, what we think, and what we hope for Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Cam, thanks for joining me this week. Everyone, we'll talk to you next time.